Imagine that you're working at a job, and this job is a fine job. You know, it's okay, but you're not getting rewarded for the maximum rewards that you could be getting because the people that are above you are taking credit for your work, or they're undermining your performance, and you're maximizing your performance day in and day out. It wouldn't really be fair for you to see that this job is worth it, right? Maybe you're getting paid a little bit more cash at this job than you are at other jobs, but you know, overall you're just not recognized for your worth, you know, because you're putting in maximum effort, and these people that are not doing maximum effort are getting more credit, and they're getting more benefits and more rewards for your hard-earned work, right? So now apply that to relationships. This is how most men view relationships with women nowadays. And this is just the unfortunate truth. And I swear, I see more men that are avoiding and ignoring women more on a day-to-day basis that are actually good men, that are solid men, than ever before. Now, of course, every generation thinks that, you know, they're going through their own crisis, and there's always a crisis, and it's true. You know, the fabric of reality hangs by a thin thread, right? So there's a thin thread that really holds the balance of our existence and our society and our stabilized civilization. Well, more or less stable. But you see what I'm saying here, right? Many men just don't view relationships with women to be worth it anymore, and that's why they're ignoring women mostly. And it's not all men, because a lot of good godly men out there, they recognize that they have to be the leaders, and they have to be leading their own life in order to get a more mature woman. And it seems to me like a lot of women, they want the chemistry, and they want the flares and the spark, right? That's what I'm thinking of, the spark. They want the spark to last forever. They don't realize that relationships, for the most part, are pretty boring. You know, relationships are pretty peaceful. Relationships that are stable and peaceful are pretty boring. And it's kind of weird if you've never been in that kind of environment before. Let's say you grew up in a chaotic home, or you've had chaotic relationships, and you've had a series of chaotic relationships, whether you're male or female. Because make no mistake, the same way that the girls and the women go out of their way to get the bad boy, many men are going to do the same thing, but with the bad kind of girls, right? The bad women. And when I say bad girls, I guess the term nowadays is the baddie, quote unquote, right? And that's the kind of women that most men will go for. Why? Because, well, she's exciting, she's adventurous. And the thing is like, you can still have adventure in a peaceful relationship. It just isn't gonna feel as invigorating as you might think it is. And dangerousness is a part of life in general, but to be caught up in it day to day is just, it'll be exhausting for us. And I think that well, for example, over the past few years, since I was 25, I've seen crazy and crazier and crazier things happening with regard to women and how they move, at least in the United States. And I definitely believe and trust that there are good women in the United States because I've met them, I've talked to them. But for the most part, I would say it's about 80 to 90% of the men that are incapable of leading their own lives. Even though they might have a lot of material things and such, they don't have the spiritual maturity to lead a relationship. And then on the flip side, about 80 to 90% of the women, they don't have the emotional maturity to follow in a relationship. They want to be having this power over the man. They want to strip the men of their balls. The man is not allowed to have balls in many of the relationships that are had in the United States anyway. I genuinely think it's most societies in the Western civilization now, but even some in the Eastern. But still, you know, it's this weird adoption of mentalities where women, because feminism, this is what feminism was designed to do, right? Feminism was designed to empower, quote unquote, women to the highest possible degree with all the power that they could muster and zero accountability and responsibility. That was the dream of feminism. The dream of feminism was this. Exactly. It was like, look, you can have all the power in the world with no accountability, with no responsibility. Who wouldn't want to take up that offer, right? Well, that's because the offer is of the devil. And remember that somebody put a good quote in one of my videos recently from George Orwell from 1984. He said, like, the youthful women were the most, I can't remember the term, despicable or anything like that, because they're the most influenced by society's ideals and values and such. But here's the flip side, because I don't really think that many young women nowadays are gonna be savable. And look, I mean that with a touch of salt and a grain of salt, because it's simply the case that I've seen more young women that are participating in promiscuous behaviors than I've seen some women in their 30s and 40s. Like, what's crazy is, I hate the term body count. I hate the term body count because it's so gross. Like, it's just so superficial, you know, because sex is supposed to be a sacred experience. And, you know, they've degraded it to just, oh, what's your body count, bro? Or what's your body count, lady? It disgusts me. But anyway, people's body count for women that are 18 to 24 are like four to five times higher than women in their 30s and 40s, and probably than they'll ever be. And it's crazy because that means that there's more men also that are just like, where is this going? You know, right? Where are these men that are just having sex with women? Well, it's most of the simps, right? The simp will bend over frontwards and backwards to get with a woman. And these are going to be the depleted coomers. These are going to be the ones that worship the pink palace, right? These are going to be the people that, in general, they are all low functioning spiritually. Like, they are not mature spiritually. They're immature. And many of the mature men are seeing this, and we've seen, like, we mature men, we've seen what you women do, okay? We see how a lot of y'all women move out here. I've had married women straight up tell me that we can keep it a secret. As in, we can keep, like, our boing boing sessions. Can't believe I just said boing boing. But yeah, the boing boing. They want to keep the boing boing sessions secret. Nobody has to know. That's what these married women have told me. Okay? And one of the craziest things that I've seen in my life was when I was 25, 24, like older, like late 24, early 25. And I was talking to a woman who was a bit older than me. And she was 29 at the time. And I was 25. And I had no clue for 2 months that we were talking. We didn't kiss or anything. We didn't do anything physical. But we were talking, and we were meeting up weekly to play pickleball and such. And she was like giving me compliments and all this stuff. Like, we were talking about the Bible. We were talking about family and such. But she never mentioned that she has a family. She has a husband. And as soon as I found out, I cut things off. And you know what she did? She tried to get me arrested. Do you know how crazy that is? Like, this is the kind of stuff that men who have actually seen what women can be like, this is what we've seen. This is what we've seen women are capable of. because these women, they want a long-term relationship with you. I have yet to meet a woman that doesn't want a long-term relationship with me, or because this is what they'll do. They'll say, oh yeah, you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. And then as soon as you start like, well, actually, I'm looking for something serious, they'll completely be like, oh, I just thought you were, no, you're definitely like other guys and all this stuff. And it's like, no, that train's passed, lady. Go somewhere else. You know, here we're going to speak directly and frankly. And if that's not what you're about, if you're just trying to fit a mold that you think I'm going to like, and we don't even really know each other just yet, like, because I think it's natural for a woman want to be pleasing to the man. In fact, I think it would be unnatural for the woman to be not wanting to please her man. And, you know, for me, when I'm talking to a woman, if she wants to please me, I know that she's into me, because she wants to please me. She wants to help me. When she wants to support me, when she actually wants to see me succeed, I know she's interested. But so many of these women don't even know how to act. They don't know how to respond. And it's really sad. It's really sad that many of these women, they don't even know how to interact around you as a man, especially a godly man. I've told women straight up before that I'm only interested in women that I'm going to have a potential family with someday. I don't want to I don't think dating to date is just, I don't think that's right. And I don't personally see the point in it. And I think a lot of people are they're too loose in many different ways. Oh man. They are loose in many different ways, but it's like, I think that when you are too abrupt in your sensual pleasures and your sexual desires, when you're too impulsive and abrupt in your interest to fulfill them, you will inevitably lead yourself to the gates of hell. You might not even know it until you're there. And that's the scary part, because the devil always comes to, he always comes to collect. We had somebody in the Regal Change Academy group that we have just post about The Godfather recently. And it's interesting because I just watched The Godfather just a couple weeks ago. And, the Godfather, there's certain parts of The Godfather and certain archetypes and motifs where the main character is basically offered power by the devil. You can think about it like that, right? And he takes it. But then eventually the devil comes to collect. The devil has not come to collect the debts, spiritually speaking, of a lot of these women out here. They've shared their souls with everybody's got a piece of their soul now. So many of these women out here, so many of them, they just have a piece. Everybody's got a piece of their soul. And you can look into their eyes, and this is the most saddening part for me, is you can look into the eyes of these women and you can see the despair. You can see the sadness. I remember very distinctly with one of the Jezebels that I've seen, and anybody that doesn't know what a Jezebel is, it's basically a spirit that's inhabited the woman. It's a narcissistic personality. You can think about it like that. And this woman, I remember looking to her eyes, and I could feel as though there was a dark energy there, but then I saw like souls, like dark beings, like reach out of her eyes to me. And I saw this because I have the spiritual discernment, and I could see what she was really trying to do with me. She was trying to take my light. The dark beings that were possessed, and like she's possessed by, it's like these dark beings were reaching out through her pupils. It was really freaky. And, I'm completely sober. And I remember seeing this. And I was appalled. And I was a bit, I wouldn't say frightened, but I was just uneased. Like I was uneased around this individual. And only with time and distance was I able to really separate myself. And this is another weird thing that women do now, is if you are somebody that has standards as a man, you make it clear that you're not about that funny business. You can do what you want, woman, but with me, there's no flings of any kind that are going to be tolerated. Okay, I'm not about that. If you want to do that, that's your prerogative. You're going to meet your creator and he's going to judge you. I'm not your creator, so I don't have to judge you, and I don't want to judge you. But I'm sure as hell not going to stick around you either. There's no way. There's no way that a man who has worked himself up is going to be around a woman that is not going to be able to bring him peace. It's just not going to happen. And a lot of times women will do this for the first little bit. They'll pretend that they're sweet. They'll pretend that they're innocent and all that. And then eventually they're starting to blame you for their emotions and whatnot. And it's like, okay, hold on a second. Like, you're saying that I'm the cause of the way that you feel? Like, I'm the cause of your emotions? Now, that's actually not a bad thing as a man. You kind of want to be the cause of a woman's emotions, but you want to be the cause of her emotions in a positive way. You want to be spontaneous, but you don't want to be a hindrance, right? You don't want to cause problems unnecessarily. And here's another thing. One of the other reasons men are just ignoring women more than ever. We don't need to tolerate or entertain petty arguments, ladies. We just don't need to. And we don't want to entertain petty arguments. If you want to argue about something, it's not going to happen here. Like, we'll talk through things. If we disagree, we're going to disagree, but we're going to reason through it like rational human adults, because that's what we ought to be. That's who we are. And if you're not about that, that's fine. Go somewhere else. We're not here for entertainment, okay? And we don't really care what most women say anymore. We just don't. And I think it's the case also that most women don't care what men say anymore, which I think it's just the eroding of trust in society. But it's also because most people don't mean what they say. And so I'm always going to look at actions first. But especially nowadays, I don't take anything a woman says at face, like, I'll just take it at face value, yeah. But I'm going to watch to see if her actions are lining up with her words or not. And if they're not, then it's a wrap. And it ought to be the same thing for a woman who is vetting or seeking a man of value, who actually has something to offer, that has something to give, whether it's spiritual leadership or whether it's resources or whatever it is. Like, if a man is incapable of being able to provide that kind of spiritual nourishment, and the woman can't see that, that's on you, woman. Don't blame that on the man. Don't blame that on the man. You knew who he was. But no, you wanted to fix it. You wanted to fix the situation. And that's fine if those are your feminine instincts kicking in, and that's great. But you have to know who's worth nourishing, ladies. You got to know who's worth it. I see too many people just taking people's words to be what their words are, and it's like, but they did this and they did that, and what happened here and what happened there, and it's, you see this trail of lies, and you're left trying to pick up the pieces of this trail of lies, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know what happened. And it's like, they showed you they were lying. They were throwing out the breadcrumbs of lies for the last, I don't know how long, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and you said, oh no, I'll pick those up, I'll put truth in this. That's really sweet, but really, really faulty of a perception to have. And I think that to encourage trust because that's what I want to do with this video. Because now that we've addressed what the real problem is, the solution is to do what you say you're going to do and start holding to your standards and principles. If you say, oh man, all of these women are hoes or whatever, and then you just go fuck a bunch of women, who is at fault? You're the one that is making the hoes, bro. You're the one making them. They're just, women are just so brainwashed that they're gonna open their legs. Man, have you ever, like, I was thinking about this. Remember that lady on the OnlyFans? She did like 100 guys in a day or something. Just, it's crazy how this is becoming like a fad. How many guys a day can I? Oh my golly! Like, this is the society that we live in, right? It's crazy. And these women are propped up. They're rich and they're famous, and they've got other creators that are going out to talk to these people. And because I'm not going to say her name. I don't want to say her name. But the lady that did like 100 guys in a day, apparently she flew out this Christian guy who has like 300,000 followers or something on YouTube or whatever. And he just makes content like for fun and whatnot. And it popped up on my feed, and I thought to myself, like, what in the hell is this doing on my feed? What is this doing? And it was like, there was like 3 parts of this like date with the woman, the OnlyFans model. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the actual hell are these people calling themselves Christians and then going on dates with OF models? Like, maybe, am I missing something? I must be missing something, because I do know Jesus, he was with the prostitutes and the sinners, right? Like, that's where he was. Okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe I'm missing something. So, being myself, I'm open to experience, even though I'm cautiously optimistic about things. So I decide to watch a little bit of it, and if it gets too gronky or whatever, because it's on YouTube, so that means that, and there wasn't any viewer discretion or anything like that, so that means that, okay, there's no nudity, there's no this, there's no that, okay. And it's very interesting, because this OnlyFans model, like, she kind of just came across as this down-to-earth yet very kinky person. It was very strange. It was very, very strange. And I could see how she's realized that she's screwed up. Like, she's realized that she's just too far. She's too far gone. And she even asked the guy, the Christian, like, she wanted him to come upstairs and whatnot after their date for like 10 hours or whatever, right? Which was crazy. I don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, she wanted to basically sabotage this Christian guy. That's what it looked like to me. She wanted to sabotage his purity. And to be fair, though, he was very open to it up until it actually was like at the point where he had to decide. And I get the temptation, I get it. And I understand that we live in a world where parents are not going to be able to control the temptations of the world, like for their kids. It's just not going to happen. But man, what a weird thing to witness, right? And what a weird thing to see. And so this woman, she was the OF model. She definitely had this like very kinky, weird, like hypersexual personality, and yet she seemed very down to earth. Like, I could see like the inner child in her that she killed, and that was hard to watch. It was really hard to watch, because you could see that, man, that inner child of hers, it's dead, and she killed it. Like, she killed her inner child, man. And we live in a world where I think the statistics are something like 10% of American women have an OnlyFans account. That means 10% of women in America are prostitutes. That's a lot. Okay, that's way more than it's ever been. Prostitution's always been around, but the percentage-wise and the significance of it, I don't think it's been this much. And when in history have you ever had, like you used to have to work, and you know, you might have to have a silver tongue as well. You had to work to get some women nowadays. And now most people, because corn is such a problem, they'll just go online. Like, I don't think people realize how big how big of a problem corn really is, but that's another episode, another video for another time. But I don't think people realize how crazy it is. And I don't think people realize just how degrading this is going to be for society long term. But, you know, we've seen worse before, and Sodom and Gomorrah, it feels more like Sodom and Gomorrah every day. But I pray for all of those people that are living in degeneracy. I pray for all of the people that are sinning and know not what they do. And I pray that they just see the light of Christ, because that's all that they can do. Only Christ can save these women, some of them out here, and only Christ can save some of these men out here either. Like, it's just the way that it is at this point. And if you want to be Captain Save a Lady, Save a Hoe, you know, be my guest. I wouldn't recommend it though, because women like that, like the 100 guys in a day. Can you? Okay, first of all, before I end this video, I have to get this thought out. Could you imagine? Can you imagine being the guy that was like the last guy that day? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what that would have been like as a man? To know that the woman that you're about to share one of the most, if not the most intimate, sacred union that you can have with another person, for the last 23 hours and 50 minutes, there have been other dudes going in and out of her. Like, can you imagine that? That's so gross. That's so nasty. And it's sad. It's really sad. But I think it's just that's where we're at. You know, that's where we're at in our society. But to end this on a good note, I'm very hopeful for the godly people. I think that the godly people, they know what the solution is. They know. It's to actually mean what you say and do what you say, and to stay true in accordance to the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. So with all that being said, I hope this video was useful and informative or edifying in some way, shape, or form. And if you do want to join the Regal Change Academy group that we have, feel free to check out the links in the description box below. You could even get a free 15-minute call with a member from the RCA if you want to learn more about it. And if you want to set up a one-on-one mentorship call with me, I'm doing 2 different kinds of mentorship calls right now. Number 1 is the Godlike Mastery Initiation call and the program. And that's going to be a 3-month program where we go through 3 phases. The first is the physical. The second phase is the emotional and intellectual. And the third phase is the spiritual alchemy and the spiritual alchemization process. Otherwise, I just have general one-on-ones. But I'm going to go make some lunch now and get back to it. I hope everybody stays blessed out there. Peace be with you. Until next time.